Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another intriguing woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Dee Doanes Davis, also known as the Agnihotra Lady. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and I represent Heal the Atmosphere Association and Shantiville Institute, an Ayurvedic medicine school, eco center, and farm. And so I go back and forth between our main location, Tuskegee, Alabama, and then our other campus in Conyers, Georgia. And I am an environmentalist. I am a steward of the land, and I teach environmental education. And I teach something called Agnihotra, which is an Ayurvedic practice that is able to reverse pollution and heal people and the land. And I'm all about building communities and teaching environmental stewardships, gardening, and all the ancient ways of taking care of the land. And a lot of people would say that I'm at one with the soil. And I like to teach these things in the modern world that we live at. I'm based here in the United States of America, but I teach all over the United States, all over the world. So a lot of the things that are considered ancient technology, I bring it to a modern world in a way that's approachable. And I especially like working with people in the at-risk communities that may have forgotten a lot of those ways. And I'm just a people person. And so I want to make sure that the ancient technology, the ancient ways are not lost and that the communities are healed. So I would say that I'm all about community and people and working with people that I would say that often forgotten about, even people that are considered unredeemable, like rapists and murderers. But I believe that everybody has the ability to transform. And I like to live a lifestyle where it's about forgiveness and love. So I do have 5 children. I have my daughter, Lee Kwa, and then my late husband. He has 4 children that I consider my own, Sri Charles. And so I have 4 sons, and we continue the work here at Shantiville Institute. And of course, I like being outside. Okay. I'm a Star Trek fan. So that's a thing that I like to talk about because Star Trek is one of my favorite shows. And it kind of is like a futuristic point of view of bringing people together and not being judgmental and helping everybody. So Star Trek is like what I try to do now here in the world we live here on planet Earth. So that's a bit about me personally. Other than that, what I probably most people would not know is that before this, I worked in marketing and public relations, and I segued from that to just going deeply inward and connecting with the earth and helping people. So I do have that corporate background, but now I consider myself a global citizen. And I like to connect with people from all cultures, paths of life, and things like that.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I would also just like to know why you are passionate about what you do and what got you started in this field.
Well, like I said, from my previous background, before I had always done a lot of nonprofit work with a friend of mine, and we were setting up gardens and at-risk communities. So I began to really get in touch with nature and being outside and gardening. So I was raised in the city, raised in a middle class background. My mother was a teacher of French and Latin. My father worked for the post office, but I was very much from the concrete jungle. So once I started learning about nature and traditional ways of dealing with farming and things like that, I also was trying to find a way to better myself as a human being, you know, because I used to be very much attached to material things and money, and um, and I found that when I met my then teacher, who later on became my husband after his wife passed away, it was a way for those two things to very much connect to help me become a better steward of the planet. So I started studying with him as a dedicated student, learning about Agnihotra and the ways that in which um, it deals with the pollution in the environment. It also deals with the inner workings of your mind too, because a lot of people don't realize that those two things are connected. If the air, we breathe 2,500 gallons of air in a 24-hour period, 2,500 gallons of air, then how do you expect your thoughts to be calm and peaceful? So when I learned about dealing with the environment, and then I found that I became a better person, and then I just found joy, so much joy and happiness, just gardening and teaching people gardening and teaching people Agnihotra. So that is how everything started with me. And when I started this journey, I had no idea that I would be doing what I'm doing now. But it's very much embedded into the very fabric of my being, my soul, and my entire lifestyle. And so that is how I got started, by doing community gardening work in at risk communities.
Fantastic. So now let's delve into your specialty. What drew you to Ayurvedic and regenerative farming?
Well, I found that with Agnihotra, there were people all over across the world that practice Agnihotra. Agnihotra, so let's start at the beginning. It is performed with the Karpa pyramid, and we use dried cow dung, rice, and ghee. And it's timed to the circadian rhythm of nature. So what happens is in the morning time, we light a fire, and at that time in the morning, we have the energies and electricities that cascade upon the planet. So there's uh, a awakening of healing that takes place during that time when we light this fire. So it's based on ancient pyramid technology, and pyramids occur all across the world, not just in Egypt. Okay, so based on that healing, that's how we're able to heal the pathogens from the air, and to cleanse the water, and then the resultant ash from this practice in the Agnihotra pyramid. We use that for farming. So as I began to study with Sri Charles, my late husband, I found that a lot of people were able to use that to restore their farms and their gardens and things like that. And I've talked to farmers all across the world, Africa, India, and different places like that, that were dealing with being told to use the GMCs and things like that, and it made the soil even worse. So I found that the Agnihotra was a way to address the issue with the soil and have it fortified and clean up the toxins out of the soil. So this was something that appealed not just locally, but on a global scale. So that appealed to me, because a lot of times here in America and the West, we think that um, doing things in a natural way makes things the best. And we have one of the worst food systems in the world. People are not used to eating what other people in other countries call regular food. Oh, here, organic. What does that organic mean? We have this in our backyard. My friends in Haiti and Jamaica and stuff telling me in Africa, we're not used to that. So I found that using Agnihotra, the resultant Ayurvedic ash from Agnihotra, was a way to have your food be very nutritious, grow well, and you didn't have to use any chemical fertilizers.
Yeah.
So that appealed to me because in terms of behavior problems that um, a lot of times exist in the at-risk neighborhoods with the kids with the bad behavior and even parents that were abusive, that if you're eating good food that feeds your body and then you're
Mhm.
able to heal. But if you only have one messed up grocery store with no access to fresh food, well then what can you do? But you can start a garden and you do regenerative gardening so that way you can grow your own healthy food. And we found that Agnihotra, it lessens the crime in the neighborhoods, it fortifies the bodies and minds of the people, and it brings about unity. So that appealed to me. My late
Fantastic.
husband, Sri Charles, was doing the work for over 44 years with his wife that passed away. So, as a matter of fact, Heal the Atmosphere Association, which is our environmental arm of our organization, the Chantilly Institute, is our spiritual uh, organization underneath that. Heal the Atmosphere Association was the very first Black environmental organization here in the United States, which was started in the late 70s. So a lot of people don't realize that there are lots of Black people that do care about the environment here in the United States. And people are often shocked, like, oh, you know, I didn't realize that Black people were doing all these things. A lot of times you see in documentaries on the news that there are people in Africa, different countries in Africa, or people in South America, or the indigenous peoples across the world that were fighting in Amazon for environmental issues. But there are a lot of us that are Black that are fighting for the environment right here. So Heal the Atmosphere Association, our group, brings together young people, children, older
Yeah.
people, so they learn from each other.
It's fascinating. And it's interesting because when I lived and worked in the United States, I worked in Pittsburgh and New Mexico. I did see the food deserts in the inner cities, the lack of fresh produce, the lack of grocery stores where people can actually buy fresh fruit at a good price. And that was the other thing that was a little bit shocking for me, coming from Africa and New Zealand, Australia is a completely different experience. Now, can you share a success story where you saw a community healing unfold through your work?
Yes, we recently went to East Cleveland, Ohio, to set up a community garden there based on Homer gardening. So,
Mhm.
Homer garden is a garden where agriculture is done there often. And actually, a Yoruba priest that lived in the area, he called us in, and so we found that when he set up the garden, things grew very well. He didn't have to use any chemicals. People from the community came out to work in the garden, and he was training them on Bakashi farm methods. And actually, he studied with his name was Fred Richmond, but he studied with Dr. Ando, who was a very well known ethnobotanist and medicine man. So he combined these techniques with agriculture to help bring people together in the community. There was a lot of young people there that studied with Fred Richmond, and he passed away recently. But so that was very wonderful for me because that area they reported in the United States was one of the worst places to live with the crime and all of that. But I found that people were quite willing to learn about Agnihotra and other techniques taught by his teacher, Dr. Ando. And I didn't see it as a rough neighborhood. I saw it as a place that just needed to get the information so that they could get their environment together.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, so there's always areas that can improve with using these traditional ancient techniques. Now, you often speak about gratitude. How does gratitude intersect with environmental activism in your philosophy?
Well, the thing is, I am a yogi, and so in our tradition, in the yoga tradition, there's gratitude for everything that we do. So
Mm-hmm.
we're taught to live very simply, to be grateful for everything, even when things are difficult. And so I find that translates when dealing with at risk communities, because things are very difficult in many places around the world, but you have to find the place where you have the gratitude for your family, for yourself, for your own understanding, as well as for wherever it is that you're living, whether it be in a small house, a hut, or even if you're homeless. It's the mindset. So gratitude is a mindset that I think if you teach people that's the simple truth of that understanding, then
Mm-hmm.
we'll be able to take better care of the world. Because I'm of course, I have African and South American roots myself. And so our people didn't have much, my great great grandparents. And so they were very grateful for whatever they had, because they had love for themselves and the family. So when we say gratitude, if the more mindful and more aware and having the mindset of gratitude, then the more likelihood you'll be able to take care of the planet, which we've been doing for many, many generations. We're born of the soil. Black people have always taken care of the soil and been great farmers. So I'm just helping people to remember these things and be grateful for all of the ancient knowledge that we carry through our DNA.
I love that. And that ancestral memory is so important for people to understand that it's in us. And like you say, you're just making people remember. I really like that. That makes such a difference because people think that they're learning new knowledge, yet it's a remembrance of the way we used to be. That's
Yes.
absolutely beautiful.
Yes, yes, indeed. And I think that the remembering, that's what we do as teachers, as leaders, we help people to remember. And a lot of times, sometimes people say, well, how do we get the information? There's a lot of these things are not written in books. So in the yogic tradition and many other indigenous traditions, things are just passed down from the teacher to the students. And I said,
Yes.
so how did people learn this stuff to begin with? Oh, they were silent. They listened to the wind. They looked at the sun. The wind
Yeah.
blew, and then they noticed things. They maybe scribbled something down in the sand, and then they discussed it with their family or the local medicine woman or medicine man. This is how knowledge was passed down. So I have to tell people, even let's say, for instance, like so a young person in the family is having problems in school, then people may say, "Oh, they're having this problem." I said, "No, you have it together. The challenge together. Take yourself outside with the family. Touch the soil, touch the tree, and be silent and remember these things." And then this is where the solution to any of these problems come from. So a lot of times
Mhm.
it's just sitting still, simple things, and not necessarily thinking, oh my God, this is a catastrophe. It's the mindset of being grateful to be still and to pay attention to the things around you. And nature is the best teacher, besides your mother being your first teacher. So that's why I remind people.
Oh, I love it. So, what advice would you give to someone who feels overwhelmed by the scale of environmental issues?
Well, I always say you start with yourself first. I mean,
Mm.
you may see headlines. I tell people don't get caught up in that, because if you start with the environment of your thinking, of your thoughts. So if you teach that to yourself and then you practice that, it can be all the way from recycling, making your own soap to wash your clothes, making your toothpaste, things like that, and living simply. Making sure to something as simple as even wearing cotton clothing. Cotton clothing and natural fibers, they're better for your health overall as opposed to synthetic stuff, especially for people um, that have asthma and other health issues. So start simple with the things that you can do. And
Yeah.
those things may not cost a lot of money. And so once you do that, then you're teaching that to your children, to your loved ones, and to your neighbors. And that's really how you start a movement. So when I go into a community, I'm traveling with volunteers, and then we tell the younger people, here, you teach your grandmother this, or you teach someone that is having a health problem, that here, let's do these things together, whether it be
Yes.
building a new community center, a new garden, whatever it is. But you always, it starts with one individual, and there's the power of many with that one person. And so that is really the way to do it. And it sounds so simple, but it makes a difference, because we are a small organization. We're not a nonprofit, though we function like one. But
Mhm.
most of our things that we get are through donations and through individuals that want to make a change in our neighborhoods. And a lot of these people do not have money, so we teach them just the power of one. The power of one, it can be a million.
I love it. I love it. Now, you've built a very strong online and grassroots community. How does community connection play in global healing?
Well, because now with the internet and social media, we didn't have all that when I was in high school. We didn't
Mm.
even have cell phones. So, but now, because we have all the social media, someone that you think is far away can be very near, and they
Yeah.
can give you ideas, and you can cross collaborate. I mean, I just know that even with climate change issues. I mean, I'm on social media and I see medicine women in South America, the medicine women in various places in Africa, all indigenous people all over the world. They're talking about the same thing, and they're asking questions about how are you dealing with this, or someone is trying to mess with how you grow things on the land, or they're doing different things. And a lot of times this is how activism gets started, just because you see someone that looks like you across the world, and you asking questions, and then you become a global network. So you start that and you document it. So I'm all about posting on social media. People can email and ask me questions. And then I do a lot of public speaking. Like I did, we did an Earth Day celebration on the 19th, and then I spoke at the Arts Exchange in East Point, Georgia. So these things are visible. So then people are learning through the
Mhm.
various things I have on social media. They ask questions, and then I go speak other places too. And that is how you make things that are local, hyper local, even. In fact, you make this global, because we all are connected and we all support each other in that way.
Yeah, and with the internet, the world has really shrunk. I mean, I'm sitting here in Australia. We're having a conversation at 6 o'clock in the morning for me. It's in the evening for you. But the
Yes.
world is really flat now because of the internet.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So the internet is good in that regard. So especially here in America, less Black Americans that have traveled in their business or whatever, they may not understand what is happening at a smaller place in Uganda, or this place in South America, or this place over in France or whatever. But because everybody's on social media explaining things, this is how you can gather support and get ideas on how to do things in your city. I mean, in the United States, it's a lot of things happening now that people
Yeah.
are not used to. But this is even more so, in my opinion, a chance for you to become community oriented and collaborate. So no matter what's happening with the economy or whatever it is, you still have a neighbor. You can barter things, or here, you need some land, let me show you this, or do you have the apples, and you do you have the grapes? Let's exchange these things. Let's see that we what we can do. Can you build a house? Can you repair a car? So I've often said this about the things. I think even my daughter on Earth Day, she was like, well, mom, I said, you know how to live here, and we can easily live off grid. I said, but what about people that do not have access to land, to housing, to clean water? You know, you have to teach people how to get back to the simple things. And so I know often the concern here in America is about DEI, but I said on Earth Day, I said, my ancestors, my grandparents, even my parents, there was no DEI. It was YOU and ME. And
Mhm.
so it sounds simple, but it's the
Yeah.
truth. So I just want people to understand it is community, is sharing the resources that will help you no matter where you live in the world. And it may seem scary, but we have to get back to the ways in which our ancestors have been living, and this is how we've survived up until now.
I love it. Yeah, that's just incredible. Now, you have been on quite a journey. and have been branded the Ag- I'm going to say this wrong, Agnihotra Lady.
Yes.
What has been your greatest lesson from your journey?
Well, the greatest lesson is that you never know where God is going to take you. You
Yeah.
never, I mean, if you told me 15 years ago I'd be doing what I'm doing, I would have told you, oh, I don't think so. Because I was quite a social butterfly, well known in the business world. And like I said, very attached to material things. So I would
Right.
say that life is meant to be explored. And it's not meant for you have to always do something and have an accolade or a benchmark. Yeah, we are human beings. That means you can simply be. That means that you don't have to be attached to a title, amount of money that you make. That you can simply just be and just explore what it is to have a good understanding of life, other people, the planet, and the universe. So I would say that to me it's beautiful to not to be attached to material things, but make
Yeah.
use of them so that way you can make your life better so you can help other people. And to always, in my opinion, because I used to be very much into self-indulging myself, but to put
Mhm.
other people first, it brings people together and it's very healing to yourself. So I found that working on myself in a sincere way, it's been the most beautiful, profound thing I've ever done in my life. And, and I've had many different occupations. I was a journalist at one point, marketing, and did all these things in public relations. And I went to school for fashion merchandising, but I find that all these different things that we think that we need, oh, we have to have this kind of car, this kind of house, this type of job, this type of title, it traps us because then we have to constantly figure out how to make more, how to one up the person for that promotion. And just
Mhm.
simply being and focusing on your self development, for me at least, has been the most fulfilling that I've had in my entire life. And this is the thing that I most am proud of, that my daughter, who is 35, she's been able to see this transformation. So a lot of
Right.
times as parents, we want to tell our children things, but they're actually observing us. So that's been the greatest lesson I've been able to give her, not by telling her, but by her watching me. She's like, Mom, she was like, I don't understand how. She said, you walked away from everything and you have nothing. And I said, no, I walked away from everything and I gained everything. So
Right.
it's just perspective and the mindset. And that's what I'm grateful for, that I'm able to teach my daughter.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Now I'm going to end our interview with two questions that are a bit of a time experiment. In the first one, I'm going to teleport you back to the younger you, that young woman who went into the world of activism. Something must have sparked you on this journey. Just in case there's somebody listening to this interview right now who's seeing something in their environment, in their community, they're not happy about, and they don't know where to start. If you could go back and give yourself three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those three nuggets of wisdom be?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say that things are always changing. That's the first thing. Um, so things do not last the same, even in times of despair. Because I was living a certain way in my adult life because of trauma, some childhood trauma that I had to conquer. So that leads to the number two thing, is that deal with whatever trauma or hardship in a way where it doesn't overcome you, because how you live your life has to be based on the present moment and not what something or circumstance did to you. So that's the number two, is that you got to deal with yourself and be in the present moment. And then the third thing would be always look to and I may have mentioned it several before, but your self development. Nothing or no one comes ahead of that, because without the self development, um, then you really won't be able to walk in love and light in the future. So those are the three pieces of wisdom that I would tell my my younger self.
Thank you for that. And now I want to teleport you into the future. You are an environmentalist who wants to leave this planet in a better place than you found it. If I could take you into the future to meet the 90-year-old you, and she is sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her family, her children, her dogs, her cats, whoever's with you at the end. If I could teleport you into the future to meet this wise woman, what would you say to her when you finally meet her?
Oh, that's another good question. So I would say that because I'm always, gosh, living in present moment, I would still tell the 90-year-old me to still continue to be in the present moment and continue up the good cause, because I don't look at the future in that way, because we don't know how it will unfold, even if our intentions are not met with people that share that. So I would just say always be in present moment and continue up the good work.
That's absolutely wonderful. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today. It always gives me pleasure when I meet people who are doing their little something wherever they are, because those little somethings add up when each of us play a part in being the change that we want to see in the world.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful being on the show. Thank you so much.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you have a passion to save the planet, if you have a passion for the environment, now you've got a resource, someone you can connect with online and learn from. Don't try and do it the hard way. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Thank you so much. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Dee, thanks again for the interview.
Thank you.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.